Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the ForneverWorld podcast, episode 9. I am your host, as always, ForneverWorld, alongside my co-host and very good friend, Daniel Santos. Daniel Santos, Shintai, my man. Tell the people what's good.
What's good?
So I think we're gonna keep up what we started last week, and instead of giving our weekly watches first, we'll save that for a bit into the episode, because we're gonna start off with the topic today, talking about classic anime, older anime, versus today's anime. Just the changes, what we went from to where we're at now, from everything top to bottom, from the aesthetics, the storytelling, the feel, the vibe, all of it. Shintai, why don't you kick this off with a proper bang, mate?
All right. Well, you fucking whippersnappers out there, what you know about that fucking Yu Yu Hakusho? What you know about that fucking Rurouni Kenshin? What do you know about that fucking Berserk? These are some fucking 90s bangers. Now, we're starting with the 90s stuff because that's predominantly what, ForneverWorld and I grew up with. We could probably talk about a bit, like, some stuff from the 80s and 70s, I guess, but, like, that's not really our wheelhouse, I guess you could say. The only 80s stuff I could talk about maybe is, like, Akira, Vampire Hunter D, a few movies here and there, but I feel like the 90s especially is when anime really started to be a thing over here in the West as well. So yeah. So I want to say, first and foremost, though, this is something that I've noticed about older anime compared to newer anime, and that's the colors.
Okay.
So I feel like if you look at older animes, the blacks used to be like really fucking black. The color black used to be like, there was like a deepness to how black things were. You compare that to anime nowadays, and like the shading is not nearly, like, the contrast isn't nearly as pronounced. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
No, that's a very good starting point. When I edit my videos, some of the times, like, if my settings get messed up and I don't realize, and I'm like, oh shit, in the editing room, I will mess with contrast, likewise with thumbnails and whatnot, especially with thumbnails, actually. And one of the things that I sometimes notice, because I always try to at the very least give a proper presentation of what the series and my thumbnail looks like now. And when I'm messing with the contrast, usually I get a real kick out of taking it to that edgier, grittier look. And that's something that was predominantly from that era, from the older era, where the blacks really hit. They were like, it was very strong, and it gave it a darker vibe and a darker tone in general. So I definitely see right there, that's great starting point with the contrast and the colors and the vibes. Like, everything, just to put a blank statement, everything was darker. It all felt darker.
I mean, technically not an anime, but Batman the Animated Series. Yeah. Dude, it looks so good. And it's really funny because I remember listening to a podcast with Bruce Timm.
Oh my god, dude, I am a huge fucking Bruce Timm fan, and I'm not trolling at all. Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, Eric Radomski.
Yes.
Dude, I can name the dudes for days that worked on, because Bruce Timm and Eric Radomski were the original, I want to say, the producers or directors that produced or directed, whatever, the original Batman the Animated Series show. Eric Radomski was, I'm getting a little nerdy here, but Eric Radomski was mainly in charge of the backgrounds, and Bruce Timm was, of course, in charge of the story and a lot of other stuff. And eventually they got Paul Dini, who wrote, he's the creator of Harley Quinn. She was actually created as a character, like a girlfriend for the Joker on Batman the Animated Series, and also he penned one of the best Batman stories ever told, Heart of Ice. So yeah, I know my Batman the Animated Series.
But no, absolutely, he wrote some really great episodes like Over the Edge. But the reason I bring it up is because during this interview, he said that at the time that the colors that they were using were so dark that it was actually illegal.
Yeah, they were pushing the legal limit because they were drawing the backgrounds on black paper, because at the time they were still doing things like, straight up analog without they were using film. They were what is it, 15 millimeter film, I think it was, or 16 millimeter, something along the lines of that. Yeah,
but like it's crazy now when you think about something like that, and you look at something like Samurai X, Trust and Betrayal. You look at like Yu Yu Hakusho, you look at Berserk, and like the colors were in general across the board. I want to say they're a lot darker, and I think they were also deeper. Like the colors just felt like they really popped. And that's not to say like colors look shitty nowadays. It's just different. I feel like
nowadays the blacks look more gray.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of anime nowadays, and again, it's not criticism, it's just an observation, but they look so much brighter. They look so much more like sunshine and roses, I guess. I don't know. Like it's different. It's definitely it's a different vibe. And I think that also coincides with the fact that a lot of anime nowadays in general is like a lot more lighthearted. There's not as much like gritty fucking like murder, death, like not so much, you ain't got dudes like ripping people's heads off and shit like that in anime anymore. It's about how like cute girls are like eating cake in the classroom and drinking tea and like, and again, nothing wrong with that. But you would, let me put it this way: if you have a fucking anime like that, it doesn't make sense to have like these gritty, dark fucking colors. Like,
yeah. Here's an interesting thing, to take it back just a little bit before our time to like the Fist of the North Star era. Even taking it a little bit even before that to something that you're familiar with, more familiar with, because I'm a little familiar with it. Gundam 0079, the original Gundam. Like
Gundam.
You go to those points and like just imagine putting side by side. Let's take, because it's an action shonen, Fist of the North Star and Fairy Tail.
Oh God. Like
from Omae wa mo shinderu, you're already dead, to I'm gonna beat you for my friends with the power of friendship. Like, nani sore? Where did we make this? Like, I mean, if you really want to get into the grand scheme of things, which I don't really care too much, but it's all across the board with culture, because a lot of culture impacts our mediums and shit like that. And we're in a more PC, way more stronger PC world now. Like something like Fist of the North Star is not going to fly in a shonen magazine, period. Like that's like people getting hit and their heads exploding and all sorts of shit. That's not gonna fly anymore.
The last fucking anime that I saw that had the balls to do stuff like that was the Fate Stay Night Heaven's Feel movie, where you remember that fucking scene where Lancer gets his heart ripped out and the dude fucking eats it.
Yo, but you said it right there. It was a movie. They had to take it to theatrical just to be able to put that type of content, because if it's not a movie or an OVA or a special, and not a TV special, just a special that is released, you're not getting that shit at all.
Yeah, and not only that, but like you also have to keep in mind that Heaven's Feel, Fate Stay Night is based on like a visual novel that came out fucking 15 years ago. Yeah, like the only other things I can think of that come close to being that graphic would probably be Attack on Titan and a Kame got killed, and that's it. Like, maybe I'm just ignorant, and maybe there's more stuff out there that I don't know about. That's totally possible. But as far as like shit that like I think people would generally know about, like, I think that's it.
Yeah, but like you look at it like, how can I say this? Attack on Titan, and that's why I believe series like Attack on Titan or Akame ga Kill or any of those stories, which by the way, those are in like off-brand. I don't want to say off-brand. I don't want to be disrespectful, but they're not in the predominant, mainstream. They're not in Shonen Jump. Like Attack on Titan actually was passed off from Shonen Jump. He tried to bring it to Jump, and they said, "Nah, we don't want that." Big mistake there, fam. But
they fucked up. They fucked up.
And like, it airs in like one of the main reasons I think Attack on Titan can make those ballsy choices is the fact that internationally I think it is where the revenue really comes in, because from my understanding they air Attack on Titan episodes at like terribly late times over there in Japan, which they do the same over here, but the internet and people being invested in streaming and shit like that is what allows select shows like Attack on Titan to exist. But back in the days, it was like you could put Fist of the North Star on at 5 in the afternoon. You could put Gundam 0079 on Toonami. You could do these things, even though that was, and we'll maybe talk about that in another podcast, like why did they make some of those choices, and kind of led to Toonami going off air. But again, totally different topic. But like, even not to stray too far away, but even look at the characters. We went from, and I don't want to keep on harping on Fist of the North Star, but you see throughout the generations, throughout the years, the decades, we went from giant muscular motherfucker that like will punch you and make your head explode. Slowly fast forward, let's just say, to Yu Yu Hakusho. Yusuke was still a badass, but he was a bit younger, not as muscular. He was still foul-mouthed. Like he would. I'll never forget this scene where he gets off a bus, and I want to say this was maybe before or after the Dark Tournament. I want to say maybe before the Dark Tournament. And Yusuke gets off, and he's like, "Yo, it stinks like ass out here." Like you ain't gonna hear, you ain't gonna hear one of these shonen protagonists say some shit outright like that anymore. You know what I'm saying? So you go from Yusuke Urameshi. Then you fast forward to the Big Three era with like Naruto, which everybody knows I love Naruto. I always praise the living shit out of it, but definitely even more PC and PG-esque than like its predecessors. And then you move forward to.
I think you bring up a really interesting point with Yusuke. Yusuke had a fucking attitude. Like he was a little shit, and he didn't give a fuck.
Dude, he was the Attitude Era, like from wrestling, of like anime.
Yeah! With like The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H.
Yes.
Fuck and yeah.
Now we're at a point where, don't get me wrong, y'all know I love me My Hero Academia as well. But yo, how do we go from one of the lead protagonists in Shonen Jump at one point was, I gotta keep going to him, Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star, to Izuku Midoriya, who is scared to death, cries a lot, pretty wimpy in the beginning especially. Like, what the hell? I mean, obviously there's a cultural impact on the medium, clear as day. Japan started caring more about the international audience. I think that was one of the biggest things. Like, yo, the international audience has changed up, but also Japan. From my understanding, you go over there, everything down to the electric sockets is cutesy-fied. Like everything is like cute over there. So they've had a radical change in culture as well.
Well, this isn't related to the cutesiness, but like when you bring up how the main character of My Hero is, kind of a wimp and he cries a lot, like I feel like that is more so Evangelion's influence, because Evangelion really popularized the idea. Yeah, with Shinji, like it popularized the idea that you didn't need to have a big manly man as your main character. You can have a complex character. Like, that's not to say like you can, Guts, obviously big burly man, very complex character.
Yeah.
But let's be real here. A lot of these characters, big burly muscle men, are just that. They're not much more than that. And I think Evangelion showed that not only can you have a character that's not your fucking standard like manly man, but he can be an interesting character, and he could be a wimp, but at the same time, you know, he could be this flawed human being, this individual that you want to see, you know, what his issues are, and you want to see him get over it, and that's what makes the character interesting. And
I would argue that that's definitely a great direction that writing took with giving characterization way more deep than, like, you know, you go to, which, don't get me wrong, I love JoJo too. I gotta put that before all of these things, because people are like, why are you attacking? Like, we're just kind of trying to dive and dissect and understand the change. So relax, people.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, we're not criticizing anything.
Yeah. Like Jotaro Kujo, which, yeah, JoJo's, you know, anime's been returned since 2012, but this is like old stuff that was written, you know, 10, 20, 30 years ago and shit like that. Jotaro Kujo, you compare him to Izuku Midoriya, yeah, Jotaro is a silent badass and all that shit, but Izuku... I could tell you right now, like, I feel like Izuku suffers from anxiety. I could tell you that, like, you see his flaws and his foibles, and you know his strengths, his weaknesses, you know who he is as a character. Like, you just get so much depth to him, where Jotaro, you know that he's just gonna say yada yada does it, like, which again, he's just badass.
You know, he's just the cool guy, and there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you want a straightforward, cool guy character, and, you know, Jotaro Kujo absolutely works, you know, for what JoJo is trying to do. But you're right in that, like, the My Hero character has more depth. The Jotaro doesn't have a ton of depth. That's not to mean that he doesn't have any, but, like, he's not exactly a deep swimming pool. You know, he's not he you know, yeah, there's not a whole lot to him.
I mean, if we even take a look at a closer look at Dragon Ball, you go to the 90s of DBZ, and I think of episodes like when Trunks was going to fight Cell and Vegeta was going to fight Cell, and they had muscles on muscles on muscles. One of the things was even talking about Trunks' muscles being so fucking huge that he couldn't move around as quick as he needed to in the battle against Cell, because his muscles were just gigantic. You fast forward to 2012, 2013, when Dragon Ball made its big grand return with the Battle of Gods film, and all the muscles have been shrunken down. We have a slender look for the new transformation, the Super Saiyan God transformation that Goku has, and it's just like, holy shit, we did away with all the muscles, and we went to this form now. I mean, again, I have to keep going back to, I think, culturally, this is really what impacted everything, because, you know, you go across the board, from whether it be from different series or the returning of series, like, you see the change is pretty jarring at times.
Yeah, like, you know, you look at something like fucking Love Live. You know, I'm not criticizing Love Live, but, like, it really makes you think, like, how did we go? How did we get here? How did we get to, like, an anime about high school girls being idols? And then, you know, you look back at the 90s, and it was like Dragon Ball Z and Berserk, and it's like, what happened? Like,
you know, you have, like, the K-ons, the Love Lives, and it's like, maybe
and again, no hate. We're not shitting on these. They're totally fine for what they are. You know,
we're simply doing a
just
dissection.
An observation.
Yes,
it's just an observation of just, like, it's weird. You know, it's kind of like you knew your friend, you know, 20 years ago, and your friend was, like, into punk rock, and then, you know, all of a sudden you meet him again, like 20 years later, and he you know, all he does is, like, listen to country music, and you're like, what the fuck happened? He used to be a punk rocker.
And he, like, lifted weights, he was brawling as shit, and he comes back, he's like 100 pounds soaking wet. Yo, you changed. What made the change? You know, how did we get from point A to point, I don't want to say B, point, like, Z, because it's all the way the hell over there.
That said, if you listen to Wheeler Walker Jr., That's the best fucking country music.
Wheeler Walker. That sounds like one of my uncle's best friends. Yo, Pa, Wheeler
Yo.
Walker Jr., get over here, Pa.
All I gotta say is, if you don't know who I'm talking about, look up Puss in Boots or Fuck You Bitch.
Yo, here's something interesting, right? Why is it, because, again, this is not as old, but this is about 20 years? About 20 years now since this was a thing. You look at what happened to this type of crossbreed of genre that doesn't really exist anymore, like an Inuyasha. Like, you don't really have,
Oh my god! I can't get away from it.
just bear with me, please.
I swear to fucking God. I can't deal with this shit anymore.
Hear me out. Like, what happened with that? Because if we're talking, like, okay, it's been like 20 years. Like, Inuyasha was really big in like 2000s or whatnot. And we don't see any more of those really popular shonen, but more because Inuyasha is what, like a shoujo X shonen, right? It's not a shonen for sure.
It was done by a female mangaka, which doesn't necessarily mean anything. Like, so was Fullmetal Alchemist, but at the same time, Inuyasha does feel more like feminine coded, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
and as opposed to Fullmetal Alchemist, which doesn't.
And romance was a really big deal, but then you're also going to get Inuyasha swinging a sword, where shout out to, of course, dudes, whatever, you watched it, dope shit, I'm with you there, but shout out to the females that really love Inuyasha, because you got to think, that's a badass female that they like their romance, but they also want to see dudes swinging fucking swords and chasing after demons and shit like that. Like, those were some badass females that was into Inuyasha, if you think about it.
I think my sister would appreciate this because she likes Inuyasha.
Well, there you go. You got a badass sister, fam. Because you look at it like the contents, it did get here and there. It kind of got dark. Like when you broke down who Naraku originally was, Onigumo, and how he let the demons eat his body and shit like that. Like,
and the stuff with Kikyo, I'll say that stuff was good.
Yes,
it's kind of fucked up that like Kikyo is like walking around as kind of like a zombie.
Yeah.
Basically, like that's kind of fucked up, and Inuyasha kind of has to deal with that. Like, we dunk on Inuyasha, but it does have some good stuff in it.
Why is that not a thing anymore, though? Like, romance is always now, especially in any action anime or manga, romance is like a quaint relic of like, hey, we'll show it here and there, but we're really into this action shit. Fuck that romance shit. Where you had Inuyasha, and that was one of the things that I feel propelled it to success, because a lot of females really loved the shit out of like, the love story. It felt like, it was really a feudal fairy tale, and then dudes is gonna love Inuyasha fighting his brother and fighting Naraku.
Yeah. Shomaru was like the coolest motherfucker back in the day.
Any idea why that isn't a thing anymore? Why we don't get that? Do you think, again, that's a cultural change that people just aren't?
I want to say all of like the romance stories are now mostly in shoujo. Like, that's where that stuff has kind of like resided. At least based on what based on what my sister likes, because she still watches anime, and occasionally she'll be like, oh, I've been watching this and I've been watching that, and it's all shoujo, well, for the most part, and they're usually romances.
Right. Like, I guess to say fairy tale, it still treated romance like it was secondary and not the most important thing, but fairy tale, I think that was one of the things that contributed to its success as well, is that it did address romance, opposed to like, Naruto didn't address romance until the series was over in a fucking movie called The Last. You know what I'm saying? That's when it finally addressed shit like that. One Piece stays clear of romance. Like, you know, even if a character likes Luffy, he's too oblivious and doesn't really give a shit. Bleach, same route as Naruto. It didn't. It took 680 something chapters for Ichigo to finally, you know, hey, I want these big fucking titties that Orihime has. So,
hell yeah.
I guess that's something that made Fairy Tail a little more special as well. And, you know, there's, I guess, that
I'm more of a Yoriichi fan though.
Oh, Yoruichi, yeah, that's best girl. Like, but we gotta add it to Bleach. Like, Bleach had fucking badass females. Not only did they look good, but they would also kick some ass. Like, Orihime wasn't the whatever, but at least she looked good. You know what I'm saying? Like, you would have like the Yoruichis, Rukia, Soifon, yes.
Bitch.
Oh yes, Soifon. I used to. Oh my god, that was my fucking chick. I used to always root for her. A lot of dope ass females. I know it like straying off topics to like badass females in Bleach, but damn.
One thing I really appreciate about Soifon was like that was like one of the first times I saw like almost openly gay like female characters. She did not make it a secret that she was like all about Yoriichi. She was like, I want her.
Dude, she wanted to fucking plunge her face into Yoriichi's butt cheeks, bro. Like, she was
she was like give me that woman, she is mine. Like, damn.
I wonder, here's another thing. So if we've gotten from, let's just say, the mid 80s, like early 80s, okay, even early 80s to where we're at now, what is that, 20, 30, like 40 years, right? 40 years since the 80s?
Yeah, 40 years.
If we've gotten in 40 years from gigantic muscles, blood, heads exploding, all of that, to, yeah, there's still, and it's not that we're glorifying violence either, we're just making the observation. There's still a lot of, you know, action and all that stuff, but it's definitely been, you know, kind of simmered down, so to speak. Where do we go from here? Could it be a possibility of culture changing and shifting to the point where a lot of those elements that made anime, you know, prominent in the 80s and 90s return? Or could it be once anime, because right now, hands down, this is probably one of the biggest, this is the biggest anime has been in the West and shit like that. What about when it starts to take that dip again and anime starts to go into a slumber? Does those elements start to return? Do we get the return of those bloody elements and the gore and the violence and the sexual innuendo and characters like, you know, City Hunter, a series I haven't talked about in a while on here. Do we get those elements returning? Could it be once the mainstream appeal fizzles out, we go back into that? Or
I want to say it's definitely possible, because now that the West is becoming more of a viable market for Japan, they're going to want to start appealing to us more because we're giving them the money. Once they, because, you know, at the end of the day, that's how you get the stuff that you want. You show them the green, they'll give you what you want.
Vote with your wallet.
Exactly. And not only that, but I also feel that trends also, like, you know what they say about trends, like something that was lame, you know, 20 years ago, whatever, is suddenly cool now. Like look at 80s and 90s stuff nowadays is like, it's considered awesome. Like, look at Stranger Things.
Vinyls.
Look at fucking Stranger Things. Like, Stranger Things is so huge.
Stranger Things, is that something from, because I know of Stranger Things from it being like a show on Netflix, a TV series. What is it?
Oh, you never watched it?
I watched like the stuff that's on Netflix now. Like, I watched, I think, an episode or so. So what is it, like based on older material, or what?
No, yeah, Stranger Things is like a show that takes place in the 80s, and it's made like a love letter, not kind of like it very much takes place in the 80s, and it makes it feel like an 80s show, and like it uses 80s music and all that kind of stuff. Like it's really playing up like the nostalgia for the 80s, and I think that's a big reason why like the show was successful. Like, people fucking love that shit, and they're like, the 80s is the fucking best, the 80s is back. Like that's. I mean, it also helped that the show itself is really good, obviously. But like, I really feel like that was another big reason why people love that show.
And it's wild that you say that, because I literally, you know, obviously I'm an anime and manga based channel, but I just made a video where I actually talked about Stranger Things on there, because it was like one of the biggest watched shows in the last couple months in America, like period, like including SpongeBob, including anime, including Game of Thrones. Stranger Things was like top 5 most watched shows.
I'm not surprised, because like people fucking love that show.
Yeah, that's really fucking dope. Yeah, and like I was saying too, like vinyl has become retro, so who knows, maybe whatchamacallit, VHS at some given point could make a return. That'll be fucking hilarious. You know, people breaking out their VHS collections, like, yo, this was my Dragon Ball Z bootlegs that I filmed, like.
Nah, I don't think VHS come back.
You don't think like 20, 30 years from now we get like a big fucking triumphant return, the same way like records are becoming a thing again?
I think only weirdos will care. Like,
I don't know.
Because I think at the very least with vinyl, like there's like something romantic about vinyl, right? Like you have like the big, beautiful records that, like, you know, you have the artwork on them, and like there's something special about being able to listen to music on vinyl. Like there's something, you know, there's like a charm to it. I don't think there's anything charming about your fucking VHS tape. Like it's like,
hey.
It's like, oh wow, I get to see this show in like shittier quality. Great.
Mind you, though, you're speaking from a perspective of somebody that's, you know, we're a little bit older, we're in our late 20s and stuff like that. What about the kids that are coming up now that, you know, let's just say they grew up and their father or their mother or their uncle or, you know, whatever, had like this cool VHS collection, and like to them they always thought that was the coolest shit, but then it wasn't a thing as they were, you know, growing up because it wasn't really available. And similar to records, it becomes a thing. Like, again, we might not understand it. We might be like, why the fuck would I want to watch this bitch in 4K, 8K, what the fuck are you talking about? But to them, it might be, this is, you know, feng shui, so to speak.
No, I get it, because like there are some YouTube channels I watch where like they're big movie buffs, and one of their favorite things to do is to find random VHS tapes. Like they love finding VHS tapes without labels because they have no idea what it is, and then they might find like fucking comedy gold. But like those are people that are like, all they do is watch movies. That's like literally all they fucking do. Most people aren't like that, I don't think.
Well, I guess we're just gonna have to wait and see what the next generation and the generation after that, what they decide. Because, you know, we could say this, but the kiddos, they're gonna do what the kiddos is gonna wanna do.
Sure.
Anything else to say? I mean, I feel like we nailed that topic on, you know, the older gen anime versus where we're at right now in 2020.
Hey man, if you're watching old anime, new anime, whatever, as long as you're enjoying yourself, that's what matters.
That's fire right there. I like that. I think we're gonna roll with that one. Let's take it into what we've experienced for the week. I'm gonna get mine. As a matter of fact, no, I'll let Shintai go first, because yeah, then we'll lead off into the next topic after that. Shintai, what have you been fucking doing? Have you been drinking water and watching SpongeBob, mate?
I'm being drinking water right now, mate.
With SpongeBob?
With fucking SpongeBob, mate.
No, I'm sorry, Inuyasha, my bad.
Sit, boy. No, I've not been hanging out with Inuyasha. Inuyasha can suck as his furry balls.
One day. Not about the sucking furry balls part, you watching it.
No, not one day. Never. It's not happening.
We'll have the Inuyasha episode where Shintai caves in, and it'll be a great episode. We'll get there.
No.
In due time.
Just for that, I'm not even going to watch the new one either. Fuck that shit. Not happening.
VHS
Out
return.
of spite.
and Shintai getting into Inuyasha again. Those are the two things we have to look forward to in the future, people.
You can look forward to Shintai watching Inuyasha on VHS. I'll live stream it.
Oh gosh, you know that's gonna be a possibility one day. I can almost fucking guarantee it. Someday they're gonna have some contraption where you're gonna be able to stream your VHS, which is probably already available now. Like there's some way to.
I thought you were gonna say a fan was gonna mail me the fucking VHS
Oh,
tapes.
no.
You're gonna watch this shit. You're gonna watch it.
Oh shit.
I have been watching anime though. I saw the first season of an anime called Oregairu, or as it's known on Crunchyroll, My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu.
I heard about that.
Yeah. Another fucking name it goes by is My Youth Romantic Comedy is Wrong as I Expected. I think it's kind of weird, but anyways. So it's funny because I remember, because season 3 is currently airing, and when we were talking about like stuff that was currently airing, we had brought it up and we kind of like, oh, whatever, probably not gonna watch it. Well, here I am.
VHS, I'm telling you.
Yeah, you know what? Okay, you got me there.
VHS, Inuyasha, and Snafu. There we go.
Okay, you know what? I'll say VHS is more likely than fucking Inuyasha. But yeah, Snafu. I saw all of season 1. I'll probably get to season 2 soon. I don't know if I want to go through season 2 too quickly, because season 3 is not finished airing yet. It's only like the second or third episode as of recording this. But yeah, I saw all of season 1 and really liked it. It was really good. So, just to give you the skinny, mate. I don't know why we're so British this episode. But
The British episode.
the British episode. Yes. All right, mate. I was having some bangers and mash. I was watching my snafu.
Oh, please stop.
Yeah, it's terrible. Not like yours is any better. So, basically, okay, so what's the show about? All right, the main character is a piece of shit. He's just kind of a dirtbag.
So it's School Days, the main character of School
No,
Days.
no, not that bad, not that bad.
Oh, damn.
He's more like kind of like an antisocial jerk,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And kind of the point of the show is that because of his shitty behavior, he's constantly getting like shit on throughout the show, right? Like he's everyone in the class thinks he's a weirdo. Like everyone thinks he's creepy and he's weird and like there's something off about him. So he has a teacher that basically she picks up on like, yeah, he's got some issues. So she forces him to join a club. Now this club is called the Service Club, and the whole point is that, students will come if they need help with something, and the club is supposed to help them.
Like Genshiken.
Genshiken was like a anime manga club, wasn't it?
Can we just like dedicate the rest of this episode talking about Genshiken? I just got fond memories. No.
Hey, I mean, we could talk about Genshiken some other time.
You say club, I think of Genshiken, and I get all nostalgic. Carry on.
It's a good show, though. I don't blame you for that. But, okay, what really makes the show interesting, though, is, so, there's only one other member in this club, and there's this girl named Yukino, and she is fucking awesome. Like, because she doesn't take the main character shit at all. Like, because he acts like, a little shit, and she immediately just, like, shuts him down. Like, she's like, no, I'm not taking your shit. And the chemistry between the characters is really what makes the show. Now, there's another character named Yui, and she's a little bit more, like, bubbly and little more outgoing. Yukino is kind of like just almost a. Sometimes she's a fucking bitch. Like, just to be real, like sometimes she herself is like, she is very sarcastic, and she can be a little shit. But
So is she similar to like Kenshiro from Fist of the North Star? Like her
yeah,
body.
she's going around. She's like punching people in the face. She's going, oh boy, wa shinderu, and she's blowing their brains across the the hallway.
She's like really muscular and shit.
Actually, she's very cute.
So she's muscular. No.
Yes.
Pause and a half on that one. Anyway, carry on.
Hey. The bunny girl from My Hero is pretty muscular, and she's hot.
Oh my god, Mirko, fucking greatness. Oh, Mirko's such a fucking amazing character.
Don't be hating on fit girls.
That is true. I apologize. Still, the thoughts of like some badass cute girl looking like Kenshiro is fucking hilarious.
But yeah, that's basically the show. I would say that it's pretty funny. It's not laugh out loud like Kaguya is. Like, Kaguya is genuinely hilarious. I would say this show is pretty funny. But what makes it work, I think, are the characters. They have really good chemistry, and it's fun to see them interact. So
does it get serious in points? Because it sounds like it would, considering like his. Okay, that sounds interesting too then, because like, yeah, comedy's dope and all, but if you give me like some really in-depth characters and like some problematic issues, like, his personality traits and shit like that, that sounds interesting. I like that. See, like, I would put it like this, where Kaguya, the main focus of Kaguya, I would say, is the comedy, and this more serious stuff is punctuated here and there. I would say this show is the opposite, where like the comedy is there, but it feels a little more secondary compared to like, hey, this main character, he's kind of a douchebag, and he needs to get over that. And the show is slowly showing like he's constantly getting punished for his behavior. He's always being ostracized. He's always getting called out. He's constantly being embarrassed because of his shitty behavior. And the show is constantly showing like, hey, this is not right. You shouldn't act like this. And the show makes it very clear, like, you're not supposed to agree with the main character. And slowly but surely, as the show goes on, he's starting to change his mind. Okay, spoilers. Relax on the spoilers. Oh, it's not much of a spoiler. It's not much of a spoiler. You're saying his character development. I don't know. Maybe he turns into a maniac and starts chopping people up or fucking taking shits on the side of roads or something. And none of that shit happened. That's one hell of a snafu. We just finished talking about how modern anime don't have the balls to do shit like that. True, yeah. But I will say, like, even by the end of the season, like, he still acts like a shit. Like, he's like, even by the end of the first season, he's still got a lot of problems he needs to get over. So I'm interested to see the next season and to see where he goes from there. Sounds like a series I might want to be checking out, especially if it has a club, because Genshiken. Oh, and dude, that girl Yukino, her older sister, oh my god, so good. You don't even know. I've got to check it out, mate. And now, as an intermission, for the first time ever, we're throwing an intermission in between our enjoyments of the week with... Fuck, I can't remember the name of this show. What do we... Oh, Who Wants to Be an Anime... Who Wants to Be an Anime Fan? Fuck, man, that would have been so smooth. God damn it. Oh, man, you almost had it. Alright, so this time I'm putting Shintai in the hot seat. And, Shintai has been around me for a while. He's heard me talk quite a bit of One Piece, so I'm going to put him in the hot seat and give him a One Piece question. You've heard me talk about One Piece more than enough times. Yes. This is a simple question. You might be able to get this one right. Oh, alright, let's do it. In One Piece, each Straw Hat has a goal. Sanji is a chef who loves the ladies. What's his goal, aka his dream? Is it A, to eat some booty? B, make a sexy meal? C, find the all blue? Or D, have the most bomb eyebrows?
Wait, he has a unibrow?
He has like some curly, squiggly eyebrows.
Okay. All right.
Do you need me to repeat, mate?
As a courtesy, please, mate.
In One Piece, each straw hat has a goal. Sanji is a chef who loves the ladies. What's his goal, aka his dream? Is it A, to snack on some booty?
Yeah.
B, make a sexy meal? C, find the all blue? Or D, have the most bomb eyebrows?
All right. I think I'm gonna go with C.
Find the all blue?
Final answer.
I really wish it was A, eat some booty, but you're correct.
Yeah. I had a feeling. If I picked A, though, you should have given it to me anyways.
I was. Because technically we don't know what the all blue is, so the all
It
blue
might
could just
be
be
blue.
like, it might be a menage a trois with like the biggest, fattest, juiciest asses in the world or some shit. You never know.
Sounds amazing.
Now to my watches of the week. It's been a pretty cool, chill week. I watched the latest episode of The God of High School, episode 3. The show, it seems as though mid-episode of the last 2 episodes is where it gets me like, oh my fucking god, I don't want to stop watching. And it started taking an interesting twist. It went from like, felt more martial arts based to like now we seemingly one of the dudes we fought had a fucking stand, like a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure stand, so that was kind of cool. ReZero, I watched that. Getting interesting. I really need to get into I need to rewatch season 1, shall I say. But so far so good with that. Boruto, Black Clover. This is one of the ones I wanted to talk about. Even though Shintai is not savvy at all, he is unfucking cultured trash when it comes to Black Clover.
I'm a fucking swine.
The latest episode 135, man, mind you, it's an anime-only episode, aka filler. But for an anime-only episode, I'm not even gonna lie, this is probably one of my all-time favorite filler episodes, almost on the level of Goku Gets a License. That's how much I really enjoyed this episode. No bullshit, not saying it for the podcast, not saying it for... No, I genuinely just had so much fun with this episode. I was genuinely like laughing like hell. Every character from Finroll trying to control his urges to hit on women and, you know, grab up on women, to Prickly Queen, you know, trying to get over the hurdle of wanting to, you know, get with Yami. Just so much of this episode from, you know, Noelle trying to get over her tsundere tendencies because she really wants Asta. Nero looking like a snack. Like, this episode was just like, oh my god, for a filler episode, I loved it. And I wish more filler episodes could check all the boxes that this did. Like, yeah, it wasn't action, it wasn't a quest or anything like that, but if I'm comparing this to like the last couple of filler episodes, I would take this episode 10 times in a row because it was so freaking good. I loved it. I really like one of my probably top 10 favorite filler episodes ever. It was that damn good. But I say that to say, let's get into the next topic. Oh.
Let's get right to the next topic.
Filler in anime. And I think for the most part this is probably going to ring us out for this episode because this is an interesting topic. filler, one of the most hated things in anime history. Like some people, they think that this is what ruined a lot of series, and it does to a certain degree. Like there's huge chunks, I want to say from episode 135 to 220 of original Naruto was all filler. So I can understand people's distaste, whatever, for filler, because that's like what, 80 episodes, 87, that's over a year's worth, a year and a half close to, of filler. But filler, where is it appropriate? When can it be used for good? Because we know the evil of filler, and we know what its overall purpose. In case people don't know, filler is basically the material that they throw into the anime so that it doesn't catch up to the manga, or whatever the case may be. They need episodic stuff, so they throw in these anime original stories, and a lot of the time people hate them. Majority of the time people hate them. 90% of the time people hate filler, which is one of the things that people credit seasonal anime for, is that it's essentially abolishing the need for filler, because like, okay, you got a year or two before the next season, you won't catch up with the manga, so we don't need filler anymore. But filler being appropriate, Shintai, what do you think are the best moments where filler is useful, it's good, and it's not necessarily a bad thing?
So I feel like there's actually two different types of filler. There's the filler that you just described, where like it's content that wasn't in the source material and it's just there to like pad out the length. And I also think there's filler for like episodic shows, where like it's stuff that's unrelated to the main plot. So like Cowboy Bebop, for example, you can make the argument, in Samurai Champloo, you can make the argument that like the majority of those shows have filler episodes, because it's like predominantly like episodic, and like each of the episodes are just their own self-contained stories that don't really have much to do with the main plot.
Detective Conan.
Yep.
As great as
like,
it is, but yeah.
99% of the episodes in Detective Conan have fucking dick to do with the main plot.
It's just like random cases, and mind you, I love Conan. Like Conan is up there for me. I love it, but I completely, yeah, that's wild to say. Like, it's an interesting discussion you bring up in terms of the fact of that some anime essentially are great, and they feel like they're meant to be that way, but they also kind of can be classified or categorized as having majority of their story being filler.
Yeah, but I think that just goes to show that filler isn't inherently a bad thing. It's just a matter of how you do it. Now, I think the reason why filler tends to annoy people more so in something like Naruto is because people know that it's not from the source material. I think that's a big distinction to make between Naruto and Cowboy Bebop. Whereas Cowboy Bebop, it's an anime original, right? Like, it is its own source material, and it's just all killer, no filler in that respect, where all of it is quality. As opposed to like with Naruto, the quality comes from the source material.
Yeah.
And I think people get annoyed because they know this is not from the manga, this is not from the source material, get this shit out of my face.
Yeah, and it doesn't help where you have Naruto is infamous for having some of the worst filler episodes in all of anime, like these ostrich, the ostrich episodes, the land of cats, where it's like talking cats and weird shit. Like Naruto has had episodes that is like, I mean, for crying out loud, they even had like an OVA about Naruto having to fucking take a shit. And as funny as that is, like, fam, yo, we running out of ideas here?
I distinctly remember an episode of Naruto, a filler episode, where they were trying to find some way to track down Sasuke, and I think it was some creature or whatever that they had, I think, or a dog or something, I forget what, and then like they were trying to find it, and so they can give it something that belonged to Sasuke, but then Naruto farted. And so instead of finding Sasuke, it just found Naruto.
Found Naruto's
Because he
ass.
farted.
Oh my god. I don't remember that, but that fucking sounds on par and hilarious as fuck. But was it meant to be fun? Like, was it a straight up comedic episode, or was there like a serious nature because of like, we go find Sasuke?
I think it was trying to do both, where it was trying to be a little serious of like, hey, yo, we can actually find Sasuke. But it was also trying to be funny, you know, it's like, oh, haha, he farted, and now they can't find Sasuke. It's like, what? How is that funny?
I'm sorry, that is so bad, bro. Like the middle of his conquest to find Sasuke, a fart is what stops it all. Like, are you fucking kidding me, bro?
Yes.
Like, oh my god.
He passed gas out of his ass.
And there's like, you know, the legendary, like, you know, when we're talking about like, okay, you know, it's filler, it's straight up like, you know, shonen filler, but there's the legendary one like Goku and Piccolo go for a road test. Everybody always references that as like, that's filler done right.
God tier episode, because it's fucking funny.
So should filler mainly, excluding the whole, you know, idea of like Cowboy Bebop and Detective Conan basically being like arguably filler in and of themselves, which they're really not, but, you know, excluding that segment, like, you know, the obvious, like, oh my god, this is filler, is the argument there that it needs to be funny, it needs to, like, what does filler in those regards need to accomplish in order to be of value?
I think it depends on the show, for one. So I think with something like Dragon Ball, I think having like a funny filler episode is probably the best way to go, because it's, you know, I see it like this, right? It's gonna sound like a totally random out there comparison, but one of my favorite video game series is the Yakuza series. And what the Yakuza series does, is the main story 100% fucking serious. Like, no jokes. You know, that shit is deadly serious. People are fucking dying. You know, people are fighting each other over like some serious shit. But then you could turn around and you could do a side quest where you play with a toy car.
Sounds like Toy Story.
Not really, but whatever. But like,
you don't remember Toy Story for the Super Nintendo?
Well, yeah. Was there? Oh yeah, you're right. There's a part where you play with the
That
little...
is one of the greatest fucking little quests in all of video game ever. I love that shit. And I'm sorry, I know that's totally like random as fuck, but you said that and that just popped into my mind. I had to say it. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Well,
Please don't hurt me.
Well, the point is that the side content in Yakuza, like all the optional stuff, is all goofy. Like, it's all silly stuff, you know? It doesn't take itself seriously. So that's why I feel like with certain shows, like, if you have like the main plot is all like, you know, it's serious and it takes, you know, this is where like the real shit happens, but then you have like the filler episodes is where the comedy happens. You can have like a balance, and I think that's how it can work.
Here's an interesting idea, because we both just referenced 2 points of Naruto having like bowel movement issues. Like, you know, one of them he has to take a shit, another one he's farting. What if they actually did a filler episode, even in Boruto as adult Naruto, where they got like really serious about like him having these issues of like, you know, he has bowel movement problems and like he needs to get surgery, and like, you know,
he has prostate cancer.
Hinata's crying at his bedside.
Yo, Boruto is there crying. He's like, Dad, it's okay. You're gonna be okay, Dad.
And then he opens his eyes, looks at them, farts, and says, "Date mayo."
Oh, date mayo.
Narega.
So
Oh
like
shit.
he's just like there uncontrollably farting while his son is crying. He's just like bawling his eyes out. He's like, Otosa! Otosa! Otosa!
And Orochimaru is the surgeon, and he comes down. He's like, "Sorry, it was not a success. Your father will continue to fart."
He's just there lying in bed. He's still farting, and he's just like, Tatamayo.
That'd be one hell of a fucking dark, fucked up, and pathetic filler episode.
And then Hinata's there, and she's like, it's okay, I still love you.
And then in the end, it goes poof, and we find out that was just a shadow clone all along, and Naruto's fine. He's at home.
It was a prank, bro. It's just a prank, bro.
Just a prank, bro. Oh shit. Well, seems as though filler, to take it to a little bit of a serious note, seems as though, depending on the show, but like let's just say with a show like Naruto, a show like Dragon Ball, these Shonen Jump titles and whatnot, it's better to go the comedic route and try not to take themselves too serious, because there's also the whole thing of I've heard this a couple different times now that the restrictions on filler is the fact that it cannot outshine the source material. This is why they purposely make shitty episodes, because they just can't. Like, the canon has to be the creme de la creme, and then of course there's things where you can't mess with the continuity, you can't mess with things that could be used later on. So there's so many restrictions to the point where you might as well just make a whole bunch of fucking comedy one-offs until you get back on course, because what's the point if you got to make shitty content to begin with? You're obligated. Like, you can't really move any of the story along, can't do any characterization, because it's going to be all undone when you get back to the canonical stuff.
Yeah,
you might as well.
You can't do anything that would like further the character's development during a filler episode, because it's not reflected in the source material. So, their hands are really tied.
You might as well just make a whole bunch of fart episodes.
Clearly. But, it's funny you say that, because like we were talking about like, one episode Naruto takes a shit, and I was talking about the one where he farts, but like, none. Even these more comedic ones, they don't match up to Piccolo and Goku, doing the driver's license test. Like, that shit is fucking golden.
Why is that?
I don't know. Like,
could it be nostalgia blinding us?
Maybe. I don't know. I want to say that episode is still good though.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is like the quality of it, that we're looking at it like nothing can match up, when in reality it might be that, it was a great moment in life when we watched that episode. Because like I watched that Black Clover episode last night, and I just fucking loved it. I really loved everything about it. And like I look and I'm like, oh well, it still doesn't surpass Dragon Ball Z's driver's test, but like I wonder, like, maybe my nostalgia goggles are on. I'd have to go back and rewatch that episode one time just to see if it still hits.
If it still holds up, if it's still the golden standard of filler.
Yeah. Oh man. Oh well, and I guess
but
I
just want to say real quick though, I do
go
think
ahead.
We've made the point though that like, you can have good filler, and you can even have great shows that are almost nothing but filler. And that filler doesn't necessarily only have to be comedy, because like most of the episodes of Cowboy Bebop and Samurai Champloo, like I mentioned before, are all very serious episodes. So, you can make filler work, but let's be real. These creators have their hands tied behind their back. They gotta, like you said, they can't outshine the source material. They won't allow it. And even if they tried to do any character development, they have to roll that shit back like it never happened. So I think because of all these limitations, like, filler is just for the most part, especially for long running shonen like Naruto and Boruto and shit like that, like, it's a necessary evil. It's just It is what
Well,
it
not,
is.
not nowadays, because of, again, the weekly grind is kind of over. Like, now we get seasonal, and with seasonal, it kind of abolishes the need, for the most part, for
That's true.
filler. One thing I wanted to quickly mention before we wrap this up, another filler that, like, as a whole, the saga itself was a dumpster fire. Some people
I
argue
think I know what you're
against
going to talk about.
No, I don't know. Well, what do you think I'm going to talk about? Then I'll tell you what I'm going to talk about.
Bounto.
No.
Oh, okay.
The Garlic Jr. saga. For the most part, I hate the Garlic Jr. saga. I love the Dead Zone film. Don't like Garlic Jr. saga. But in the mess and the dislike that I have for the Garlic Jr. saga, there is something that I love and I think is some great filler, and that's Krillin's girlfriend and his relationship with Marin. That's something that I guess is a cool element to add into filler for, like, you know, at that particular point in Dragon Ball Z, you know, Krillin, he went from, in Dragon Ball, he was a main character to Dragon Ball Z, he's like, you know, a C-list, whatever, you know, he's Goku's best friend still, but he's not that important. Doing things like that, giving him a girlfriend, seeing him get his heart broken, as sad as it, like, you know, I could watch those episodes back now and probably still get sentimental over seeing Krillin crying with the shades on in the end because Marin dumped him and shit like that. That was some good shit too. It was just in the midst of the fucking terrible Garlic Jr. saga.
Yeah, and then he upgraded with Android 18.
Ooh, that was his come up right there. Like, yo, the fucking Shenron gave him, like, you know what? You lost that big titty bitch, but I'm gonna give you this robot. Fuck your brains out.
Dude, I fucking love Android 18. So good.
Well, any last words on older anime versus new anime, the change, filler, Sanji eating ass, anything at all, Shintai?
I'm glad that Sanji and I have a similar taste.
Hey! Oh, yeah, both love Inuyasha.
Yeah, exactly. You got it.
I want to change the world. Kana shisekai. Oh shit! I'll say this, that not to toot my own horn, because normally I say these things off mic, but I loved that first discussion we had about old anime versus new anime, and if there's any recommendations you guys have to further expand on that discussion in a future episode, please let us know, because I really had an incredible time diving into that discussion. As y'all can see, that lasted
Not to mention, if you guys have a topic that you want us to discuss, put that shit in the comments. We do read them. We'll take it into consideration. We'll put that shit in our little, list, and we'll be like, all right, we'll see if we could pull that shit out for later for another episode.
Yes. But aside from that, yeah. No, I think that's all I have for this one. I don't want to stretch the whim, if that even is a thing. Yeah.
Stretch it out.
Stretch it out. Yeah, no. All right. I'm ForneverWorld. Thanks for watching episode 9 of the ForneverWorld podcast. Tell Shintai to watch Inuyasha and have it awesome day, people. Peace.